Okay, let's get into the book of Exodus. I want a couple things, so we might run a couple seconds long here, but this is just, I need to give credit where credit is due. I'm using all kinds of resources from the Baker Illustrated Bible Commentary. Complete Bible Companion is put out by Zondervan, I believe. No, I'm not sure. That might be Barber, the publishing company. I do have the Zondervan Handbook of the Bible. I'm using the Life Application Study Bible, ESV Study Bible, a lot of study Bibles, a lot of different translations. Webster's Dictionary, the 1828 edition, is one of my favorites. So I use that, and of course just Googling and searching and coming up with stuff. So there you go. Just a lot of stuff, and I'll continue to talk more about O'Haley's Bible Handbook is a great resource tool. So, and Bible Knowledge Commentary is something that we use at the school that I really love. 2 volumes, Old Testament and New Testament. So we're in the book of Exodus today. Exodus actually just means a mass departure of people. So that's what our story is. We have to back up to Genesis a little bit. Joseph was sold into slavery, ends up in Egypt. Ultimately, through God's sovereignty, all the Israelites make their way into Egypt and settle in the land, I believe called Goshen, and then just become numerous. And the new Pharaoh comes in, and hey, there's too many people. There's millions and millions of them, and they make them slaves. And then enter the life of Moses and him called by the Lord at the burning bush. It's time to let my people go. So he's going to deliver them. The Lord Jehovah is from the great I Am, from bondage and slavery. Real quick, the purpose is to record the events of Israel's deliverance from Egypt, and we're continuing this development of them as a nation, as God's called out ones, just like we, the church, are. But it all begins in the Old Testament with Israel. The author, again, is Moses. The original audience, same as Genesis, the people of Israel. Written about the same time as Genesis, 1450 to 1410 BC, same place, in the wilderness during the desert wanderings. So it's said in Egypt, God's people, once highly favored in the land, are now slaves, but God is about to set them free. Remember, He set us free through Jesus Christ and the finished work on the cross. Special note, Exodus has more miracles in it than any other Old Testament book, and is also noted, obviously, for containing I shouldn't say obviously, sorry about that, but the 10 Commandments are located in the book of Exodus. Let's do an outline real quick. Israel in Egypt begins it with the slavery, and then God choosing Moses, sending Moses to Pharaoh, the plague strike, and then we have the Passover. Then we have Israel as they as Pharaoh finally lets them go, and the glory of the Lord goes before, behind, around, and just protects and guides the Israelites. They make it into the wilderness. Once they cross the Red Sea and make it into the wilderness, man, do they begin to complain. Aren't you glad we don't complain? I'm so glad I'm not a complainer. Yeah. There is something, because during that we do start to see, and we'll get into this more in the next few books, in Numbers, Leviticus, and things like that, about how to worship God and what it means to worship God. So we're setting up the tabernacle, we're getting the law, the 10 Commandments, and the rest of God's law, or God's precepts for the people. So as we're doing that, there's one thing I love. I love the tabernacle, and if you can ever get into the the type and shadows in the tabernacle of Jesus Christ himself. It is a wonderful thing to look at. But for some reason, I just love acacia wood. Acacia wood was used to build a lot of the poles, and the people would bring the acacia wood, and it was used for the poles of the ark itself, many parts of the tabernacle. In fact, it's the only wood that's mentioned in the construction or aspects, I believe, of the tabernacle. So I don't know if anybody ever gets any acacia wood from the Holy Land. Let me have some. I want some. And I think it's in Australia too. There's all kinds of different types of acacia wood. So I'm not sure how all that works. But here you have the Israelites redeemed from slavery. Sound familiar? Set free, and being provided for and taken care of in the wilderness as they head and get ready and prepared for the promised land. What's our takeaway then? What are we to take away from this whole book? Many things, but here's what I will leave you with. The Israelites were enslaved. God heard their cry. When you're going through it and it's hitting the fan, cry out to him, okay? He cares for you. He will hear you at your worst hour. Believe me, I've been there laying on the hospital bed, and I see you looking up and finally just turning it all over to him. He delivers us from sin, from death, from evil. John 10:10, Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly, overflowing to the full. This is what Jesus brings for us. He's calling us to deep unto deep, the word says. He's calling us to a deep personal relationship with him, and we are seeing this as he continues to mold and build up his people and show them who he is, and they begin in turn to worship him. A lot of complaining, a lot of disobedience. Again, don't you know that we're doing that from time to time, man? But I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, determined to follow him, determined to serve him, determined to trust him, and he will guide you. He will show you the way out of slavery, out of bondage, into freedom, into the promised land, the abundant life that he has called you and that he came and died on the cross for you to have. All right, so take that away today. I love you, and I'm just praying for anyone who is watching these, and we'll just get in to our next one soon. What's after Exodus? It is Leviticus, isn't it? So it's either Numbers or Leviticus. I'm so good. I think it's Leviticus, but yes, it is. All right. So, and I love Leviticus. We'll get into that. So 8 minutes, about a minute long. I want to try to keep these around 7, but we'll see what happens, what the Lord does with it. Right. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.